Live. Renee, what was that song you were singing just a few minutes ago?
Because this is Thriller, Thriller night. Nobody's gonna save you from the beast that's about to strike. Because this is Thriller, Thriller night.
Oh, Georgia, you got a new haircut.
She did?
You know, hair
Men are
is
terrible
annoying.
at noticing that.
I just have to, like,
I thought it was a
clean
new
my
hoodie.
scalp, do the eye sockets, the teeth.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to move your microphone a little closer too,
What
because
were
it
you
sounds like
eating?
you're talking through a mask.
Do I sound weird?
I didn't
Yes.
know Skeletor was going to be on the show.
It's hard to talk without lips.
For the honor of Grayskull.
So for listeners that are tuning in, not watching, Georgia Dow is wearing a wonderful, beautiful Halloween mask. And for those of you watching us, we spoke this morning about whether or not we would wear costumes, and we were all running late and decided not to wear costumes. And
Wait,
then
I dressed as a corporate stooge.
Oh,
I
yeah,
totally
that's
dressed
right.
as a corporate
That's right.
stooge.
They all said it's a costume show, and then the joke was on me.
No, but let's be honest. It was weird this year because usually we do a costume show, but the schedule makes it so the next week's show is the day after Halloween.
Yes,
and it's
so
not
it's
like
all-
Boxing Day Halloween where it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So we may or may not be dressed up next Friday for no reason, just because. And then Georgia won't be dressed up.
Well, I'm going to say that Georgia is Skeletor and Lori is She-Ra, and that leaves me out.
Yes, I'm into that. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, October 25th, 2019. Today, we're talking about everything we can relating to Apple, including some rumors, some possible things that are coming by the end of this year without an event, and a whole lot more, because this is the iMore Show. And joining us today on the show is Skeletor. I mean, Georgia. I mean, Skeletor? You've lost some weight, Georgia. Maybe a little too much.
Yeah, it's a little,
How do your
we'll get
AirPods
to
stay in?
the bone of the issue at the end.
Your face is going to be so hot and sweaty by the time we're done.
I might have to lose the mask halfway through. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
And also joining me today is corporate shill Renee Rucci of Vector.
I'm
How
business
are you doing
guy.
today,
Good, thank you. I was in meetings all morning, so I had to look all proper, and I figured I might as well just lean into it.
All right. So is this part of your costume? Is that you're claiming you're in meetings all morning?
No, mutual friend of the show, Nirav, scheduled me in meetings.
So
And I'm not used to them anymore because I used to do like a bunch of the corporate stuff, and then now I've gone back into content creation. So it's always like, oh, I've got to play nicely with others again.
Gotta dress up. See,
But
you're
people
better
don't know
than
Lori took all that on. She saved me from that life.
Yeah. But you've bested me, because when I go to corporate meetings, the same type of meetings you go to, I don't dress up. I'm just wearing the same stuff I always wear.
You always look good, Lori.
I'm always looking like I've been sleeping and, oh, hi. Yes, I'm here. I swear. All right, let's get down to business. Let's talk about Apple. We keep hearing. So first of all, it's the 25th of October. And if Apple were to be holding an October event, we would have had some kind of invitation announcement at this point. And so,
Oh God, did they not invite us?
did
they have it without us?
Not only did they not invite us, but they also told everyone else that was invited not to say anything to us.
Oh God! So they had the whole event, and we just didn't know.
My original prediction was that we would actually get an announcement sometime this week, like maybe early this week, and that the event would take place on November 1st. That was my prediction, but it's Friday and we've got no invites. So I'm going to say for sure, not in October at all, because that's just not enough time. They would, the end of October is next Thursday. So we're definitely not seeing it then. But Renee, do you think that there's going to be an Apple event as in the traditional meet in Cupertino, go to the Steve Jobs Theater type event in October or December?
No, so I think it'll be different. Like this year, they've already done 2 Steve Jobs Theater events, and I don't think they'll do more than that, just because they don't usually. Like last year, we had the October event was in New York, and previously the March event was in Chicago. And I think, if anything, we'll see that again. It'll be a little later in the year. It'll be a little bit more New Yorky than it will California, or maybe they'll pick some other. Lori and I were spitballing, going, if they do it in October, they'll do it like at Mann's Chinese Theater because of all the Apple TV. Like, that'd be amazing. We'll do it in Hollywood. But I think it's too late for that. That's going to ship November 1st. So I'm back to the usual standbys of maybe something cool in New York, something cool on the East Coasty, Chicago side, and then smaller than usual. Like, not Apple Town Hall small, but something smaller than a giant event, because we still got some stuff to unwrap.
Are you saying, Renee, that we're going to get an event a little smaller, but sometime in November?
Yeah, I think that. So an event can scale. Like, some years it's an actual, like a small event. Like, they just have like a couple hundred people, and they've had, like, Tim Cook came out and did the iPhone 4 for Verizon, and they've done a bunch at Town Hall that were tiny. But it could also be like we got with the iMac Pro, where they just have a bunch of people, because Apple has a facility in New York, and they just take you through a bunch of different tours. And you try out the stuff in a bunch of different contexts. And they've done that a lot for the Macs recently. So it wouldn't surprise me if they want to keep it really on the down low, on the low key, then it would just be, I don't know what you call it, a road show, something like that. But it would still be the same products.
So if that's the case, then there might still be enough of fanfare for it to be, oh boy, we've got the new 16-inch MacBook Pro. We've got the new iPad Pro with the triple lens. So in other words, Georgia,
an AirPod Pro. It's a Pro event,
and everything Pro. That's what the event will be. That's the name of this show. Everything Pro. Georgia, if we get a new MacBook Pro with a new keyboard, are you on board? I think we had this discussion before. Are you just like, throwing money at a new MacBook Pro with the new keyboard system? Or are you still going to kind of hold out in a sense of like, well, I don't really need it. I've got my MacBook Air.
I think that what I would be excited to see what happens, but I'm not usually one of the people that will jump onto it right away, even though, oh my God, do I want a new keyboard? I really I'm one of the main haters on the keyboard. So I'm really excited for a keyboard that works, feels cooler. So I'm hoping for something cool, but I'll probably wait to see how it works out.
Yeah, and Georgia, your argument is it's not about the reliability of the keyboard so much. You hated it from day one, right? For you specifically,
you hated it before it was cool,
right? Yeah, it was all about is it that it's too mushy, right? That it doesn't have enough tactile feedback for you.
Yeah, I don't like the how it doesn't depress.
Right.
And I don't like I never liked the clickiness, but that's just a Mac keyboard.
Right. It's not depressing enough.
And I feel like it doesn't feel great while I'm using it. So I end up with this little tiny, sad, clicky, flat keyboard that doesn't give me the feedback that I really want while I'm typing. So when I go over to the old Macs, what my kids are using now, I love it. I'm like, oh my God, this is how a keyboard could feel? Really?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for. And if they can make it less clicky, like, really? Can you stop that?
Yeah, it's got some noise behind it for sure. What if it's a hybrid version? What if it's a little bit scissory and a little bit butterfly? Renee, explain what that could be. Obviously, if they even do something like a hybrid, we don't know what it would be, but just posit what you think could be the hybrid keyboard.
So there's different mechanisms that are part of the keyboard, and what Apple did infamously, back in 2015, starting with the 12-inch MacBook, was they replaced the traditional scissor switches with butterfly switches. And what that meant is a scissor switch had a part on the outside and a part on the inside that would go up and down. It would basically fold in and out on itself. And Apple pushed this to almost like a little tent shape, and the whole thing would go up and down. But they also put these metal domes underneath it, and those domes is what had to be depressed and come back up. And those have just proven to be error prone. Like, originally they sealed it. Like, the keyboard has some good qualities. It's nice and wide, it's nice and stable, and they sealed it to stop stuff getting in. But it resulted in the fact that when stuff did get in, as it will inevitably do, it just couldn't get out again. And those metal domes, the original metal they used, seemed to sort of wear over time. They've made that stronger now. They've done a bunch of things. They put membranes inside them, but it was all like, scooping water on a sinking ship. Because I personally, I'm totally opposite, Georgia. I like the feel of these keyboards better, but that they're not reliable is a deal breaker. And for other people, it's like, no, the whole thing is a deal breaker. And for me, that's like the worst, because nobody actively hated the old keyboard. Now it's like 50-50. And if there's the old one version, yeah. Like some people like the new keyboard better, but nobody hated the old one. And if there's only one manufacturer, like it's not like Windows, only Apple makes OS 10, Mac OS laptops. You just can't have a product half your customer base hates. It's not tenable. So what it sounds like they're doing is going back to those scissor switches, which Apple made terrific scissor switch keyboards up until they switched to butterfly. The only question is, will they change the profile? Will they stick with the wider keys? I don't think any of that will make a huge difference. I think I would personally prefer if they were a little more stable, because I do find them a little loosey-goosey now when I go back to them. Like you can press a corner by accident and the key won't go down. And I love that this, like no matter where you hit it, it still goes down. Mm-hmm. But if they could come out with a scissor switch that still was better than, and everyone would just love it. They went back to the old one. If they could somehow make it better than, it would be great, because Apple does take risks. Like they made a trackpad that has no physical components. It's just a giant hunk of metal, but it feels like a trackpad and it works better than all the physical trackpads they ever made. And I want the keyboard equivalent of that. I want a new technology that's actually better than the old technology.
Wait, I'm going to take off the mask if that's okay.
You're wearing a mask?
We understand.
Okay.
You're wearing a mask.
You killed Zombie Flanders? Zombie? Oh, God.
Oh, I feel so much better. Okay.
It's curdled all the way down.
My eyes back on.
Oh, man. So for those listening, not watching, Georgia pulled off her skeleton mask to reveal a skeleton mask. Or maybe it's not a mask. I don't know.
No, this is just me. I didn't put any makeup on, guys. I'm sorry. Probably looks a little better. I was actually happy. I'm like, I don't have to put any makeup on or anything. I'm just gonna have natural goodness. This is me without all of the Instagram filters.
It's Jeffree Star or James Charles. What's that?
Yeah, can we expect that these keyboards are going to be better than the old keyboards? Like, can we get maybe waterproof keyboards so every time I drop my coffee onto the keyboard, it's not going to go soundproofing on these keyboards so they don't make a loud clickety clack while I'm trying to type during a podcast? I have to type so very slowly because of the excessive tapping noise.
You can have more clickety. I mean, most people like the clickety clackety keyboards. It's a whole business to make clickety clackety keyboards.
That's very true.
Noisy. I don't think that anyone liked, an excessively loud keypad.
You're definitely wrong about that.
Hear the feedback. A little feedback is nice.
Yeah.
But
there is a such thing as the mechanical keyboard, and part of the joy of the mechanical keyboard for people who use them is how loud it clicks and clacks. And I am not exaggerating on that.
Carry keys, baby.
It's in the minority though, because a lot of people are doing things where you're going to be like, if you're bringing this to school, no one likes that person. Don't be that person. Yeah. And for us on podcasts or that do YouTube videos, it's a horrible thing when someone's going at it. And sometimes it's me. So I apologize to those that listen to the show because I'm really trying to type, but I have to type so slowly. If it was soundproofed, that would be great. Waterproof would be great. A little bit more depression. Can I please get a little bit more of a depression?
More depressed.
I don't like the feeling of typing on glass. The old keyboard.
You call it key travel, George. It's different than your industry.
Hopefully soon, old keyboards are like tapping on glass for me, and it makes me sad.
Yeah. So I think the original idea behind why Apple switched to the butterfly keyboard was in order to lower the profile so that they could make the MacBook Pro thinner. So if we're going back to the scissor mechanism, do you think that it would, potentially meet a slightly thicker MacBook Pro? And Georgia, for you specifically, is that payoff okay? If it's a little larger, a little heavier, a little thicker, that is, a little thicker, a little heavier?
I think that we're done with the thinnest ever is best. Yeah, I think that twiggy modeling era of Apple products is over. I think we want usability. I think that, a few more ports, throw some ports in there. I think that people are just happy. I'm the anti-dongle person. I'm just the difficult one on the podcast. We know that. But, I don't care. I want a computer that I can use, that I don't have to plug extra things in.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to work. I want it to be reliable. I don't like the thought that suddenly the E on my keyboard, then it was the B on my keyboard, do not work at all.
Yeah.
That's really annoying.
And
That's a deal breaker, I think, for most people.
Definitely. And I think from what I understand, the latest MacBook line that is using the butterfly mechanism has significantly dropped in reliability issues. So it's as if they fixed it, but I think the damage was already done, and they can't come out. Apple, I don't think, can come out with another keyboard that uses the butterfly mechanism.
4th generation butterfly. Here you go, kids.
I mean, even if they change the name of it to, like, the praying mantis mechanism, like, I think,
Lori,
I like that though.
Yeah. And I think that even if it's the exact same, 4th generation butterfly keyboard mechanism, they can't call it that because
Lori,
it's already.
They're going to come out and say, we went back to scissor switches. We're all going to get them for a month. And they go, they're really still butterfly switches, you idiots.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
iFixit is going to pop that baby open right away.
Yeah.
And call them out if they're not different. But if they're choosing to go different, like, make it better. Like, don't change something for the thought of changing it. But if it's going to be better in a certain set of use cases, then people are going to be happy. Keyboards haven't changed in a really long time. Like Apple, I like that they tried it out, but it didn't work.
It just didn't work. So, in addition, other than just the potential keyboard changeover to hopefully the scissor mechanism for Georgia's sake, even though I'm like Renee, I think the butterfly mechanism is fine as well. I switch between butterfly and scissors. I have the scissor Magic Keyboard, and they're fine. They're both fine for me, but I get it. So don't worry. But there's also rumor that it's not going to be a 13 or 15-inch MacBook Pro, but a 16-inch MacBook Pro that uses the same chassis as the 15-inch MacBook Pro. So we're not getting an increase in the case size, but we're getting an increase in the screen size, which Renee
continues.
Yes. So it's well, I guess we can't really use bezel-less. There's definitely still going to be a bezel. It's just going to be incredibly
the iPad Pro. It's just like the bezel's still there, but they don't want you to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, when the iPad first came out, we didn't really talk about bezels all that much, but then as Apple started figuring out how to decrease the bezel size, that's what it was all about. It's all about getting rid of more and more. And every iteration, they've tried to make it smaller and smaller. Now with our iPhones, we have almost bezel-less. We're practically screen to screen. And the MacBook Pro the iPad Pro. And now we're looking at a MacBook Pro that might potentially have that same kind of ideology. So what's that going to look like? Because we have foreheads and chins because they hide some things. But Renee, how, for example, are we going to have the front-facing iSight camera on a MacBook Pro if it's got a tiny thin bezel that's almost not there?
It's going to be like a Cyclops with a divot on the top.
No, I mean, normally I would say like it would be, but these cameras are so terrible and tiny. I mean, Apple does not do good cameras on MacBooks, especially the 12-inch MacBook. It was like an affront to selfies everywhere. I would actually love a camera bump at this point. Like, give me a really good 4K. It doesn't have to be 60 frames per second because apparently Google says that's hard to do. But like, just like make it like a good 4K camera because it's a pro machine. It's a big pro machine. I should be able to sit down here and look glorious. And I'll take it doesn't even have to be a huge bump because it goes into the open area where the trackpad is, which is slightly indented anyway. But I would love a nice camera in there. I don't think it'll take too much space. My bigger question is, I don't think we're going to get Face ID. And I really want that in a MacBook Pro so much because it's like it's begging for it. Open the lid and it's open.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all I want. And they haven't even got Touch ID across all the Macs yet. And Face ID is like 2 years. I just come on with the biometrics already.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually a little angry because usually I'm wearing my Apple Watch, so it logs in because of my watch.
So great.
But then when I'm not for my laptop, when I'm opening it up and then I'm not wearing my watch, I'm a little bit offended that then I have to type in my password.
Like an animal.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, oh yeah, I still have to do this. I think that's a
Or you have
great
to touch
idea,
the
Renee.
Touch ID, which is now too much work. Like I have to reach over and touch something. Way
Yeah,
too much
no, I
work.
don't. I actually am a little. I use my children's phones that have like I have to press a. I'm like, oh my God, I have to touch something. I'm like, oh well, how quickly lazy we can come.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I don't know about, like, I'm done with the size differences for me. I don't know about for you, Lori, but for me, I'm like, I really want something that's stable. I want programs that I can use, that I can trust, that I don't have to give up my privacy or my firstborn child in order for them to use. I think that, like, really, like, besides being able to be light enough to be able to carry, big enough to have screen size doesn't matter. It's usability, what you do with what you have, not if it's thinner and larger. I'm comfortable now with the sizes. It doesn't really matter. I want to have features that make this fast, easy, and stable. And so, like, I'd be happy to get another one. I'm happy about the keyboard because that needs to be a problem that can be fixed. But can we spend a little bit of, like, heart and love to poor Siri, who's, like, kind of like the girl that was left on the side of the road, and people are driving by her, splashing her with pleasure as she walks by the road.
The poor
She's that lamp in
thing.
the IKEA commercial.
Yeah, it's really sad. So I'm all in for, I don't,
So can I argue with
16,
you, Georgia?
17, 14, I don't care.
Can I argue with you? So
Yeah,
I
please.
came from a 17-inch MacBook Pro. That was the first modern MacBook Pro I had because I was working in enterprise. I was doing design, and it was just such a big screen. I loved it so much. It was a battleship. It was just painful to carry it anywhere. So I used it almost like a desktop. But then, because when I started doing blogging more, I went for the smallest computer. I went for the MacBook Air because it was so light. And then I started having to do video again. And I'm like, it just doesn't render video fast enough. So I went to the 13-inch MacBook Pro. And then the screen is too small. Like I can't do development on it. It's like there's not enough lines and there's not enough, the palettes don't fit. So now I'm at the 15-inch MacBook Pro. And I would love to have something like that 17-inch MacBook Pro where I have like Final Cut or Photoshop and room for the palette, like on an iMac. iMac is amazing. I can have like 4K right in the middle and all the palettes and stuff. And I know I'm not going to get like a 5K or 6K 16-inch MacBook, but the closer I can get to that, and it's not going to break my back to carry it around. Like just I'm throwing money at it now. It's not even out yet. And I am
like, You're ready for it. Yeah, Renee, I was even thinking, Georgia, you and I are more like the average person, no offense, Renee, in that when we're taking our Macs, our computers out of the house, when we're going, travel with them, we don't need quite as much, heavy horsepower or all the extra screen space. We're usually doing things like blogging or, writing papers or something like that. And if we do travel and need more than just, if we are doing something big, we might, connect to another screen so that we have extra space. But Renee is in that market that I think is really Apple wants to appeal to, which is the creative types, the people who go out and shoot a lot of video and, audio and things like that, but they also need to be really mobile. So the necessity for thin and light, but also larger screen, I think is exactly who Apple is trying to appeal to in this case, because for us, a MacBook or a MacBook Air will do everything that we need it to. But Renee needs more horsepower. He needs everything under the hood to be bigger, but also needs everything to be just as light and thin and have a big screen. So it makes a lot of sense to me that they would be trying to broaden the screen size without broadening or without adding any extra weight or thickness to it. So if it comes up, it'll be great.
14-inch screen in the 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Yeah, so I carry around a 13-inch because unlike Renee, I don't need all the screen real estate. I usually am just, typing away and writing things. And so I don't need a lot of big screen in front of my face. And the 13-inch does great for me. You add an extra inch without taking away the chassis or without changing the casing, I am on board. I would love just a little bit of extra space. I think it would be great.
Can I ask you something, Lori?
Yes.
So mutual friend, Joe Keller from iMore did an editorial on the MacBook Pro, which was really, really good. And he brought up something I haven't really been thinking about. Apple's been using the same basic design since, well, this MacBook goes back to like the the battery sealed one from 2008, where Phil Schiller announced it. But it really goes back to the titanium MacBook Pro that was the precursor to all of this, and that's like decades old. Do they need a visual? It's not like people are really doing crazy stuff on laptops. Like some of them are carbon fiber, some of them are magnesium. Microsoft makes really great laptops, but they still look like laptops. Google makes great laptops. They still does Apple owe it to the world to do for the pros what they did for the Ultrabooks with the 2011 MacBook Air? Like just redesign everything.
I'm going to say absolutely not. And here's my argument. And I have the same argument with the current design of the iPhone. Once you've perfected the design, there's no need to change it. It's if it's not broke, don't fix it sentiment. And design change for the sake of design change, I think, is a dangerous territory to walk into, especially when we're talking about our computers. I think the reason that the MacBook hasn't changed in so many years, and the reason that I hope they don't change it this year or ever, is that they've perfected the design of it, and there's no need to make it any different. What would they do? What would you imagine it being instead? Like a glass back?
Remember the old iBook that was like translucent? And I'm not saying go back to that. It's just they used to be, and I don't necessarily want to change either. In fact, I think I don't, because as much as humans get bored, we hate change. But like, there have been more outlandish or more visually interesting designs. Definitely,
and yes, and also. Put a sticker on it is my idea. Let me customize what my computer looks like. Don't give me candy colored computers that are thicker or don't have as good material, or like nobody ever. My significant other uses PC laptops, and every single one of them has had broken hinges. It's just they're just made of crappy materials. I've got a MacBook still in my house right now from 2012 that's in fantastic condition. My MacBook Pro from 2016, fantastic condition. Doesn't even have any abrasions on it. It's in pristine condition. I don't put cases on it or anything. It just looks great. And so if you start throwing in things like for example, everything is going glass back right now. So we have like the matte glass back on the back side of the iPhone. So if there was some sort of like, let's change the design of the Mac and do something like a glass black back, then you're starting to get into the territories of cracks and scratches and things like that are unappealing. The hinge situation is still a very significant issue, and if you change that material on the Mac, you potentially risk opening up hinge issues that we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our lives. So no, let's not change it. Georgia, do you want a candy colored MacBook?
I won't say I don't. I do like I don't know about candy colored. I like colored metals. So that would still be cool to me. Though I would like to be able to personalize it myself. I would pay for that. I would pay money if you can anodize my materials in the color that I want to, and I can get hot pink or purple and switch it. But my thought is that if I think that the design itself should work because it works better, not like, as you said, Lori, that they should change it because they just want to do something different. But my other thought is that if they can go for changing the metal alloy that they use so that it is lighter and stronger, I think that would be really worthwhile.
Titanium?
So if they went with like there's super magnesium, there's a lot of new alloys that are out there now. That would be really cool. And a lot of these new metal alloys are also cheaper. I would be in for that. So I think that looking at that would be really cool, even if you have to pay a little bit more. If I don't have to carry around the weight, which is not good for your back, your arms, even if you're traveling with your laptop and you're going to stick it in your bag and you have to carry that around with you, that would be worthwhile. I think a lot of people would pay for that. And they're definitely out there. I think that it would be, a cost to us for them to test it out, because you're right. MacBooks work. The hinges don't break. I don't think that I've had any of mine that I've had a hinge problem with, any of mine that even if I've dropped them that have stopped working or even been damaged, which is amazing. And I've had dents that are really strong. huge little dents, and everything works perfectly. It still closes. It's pretty impressive how far of a drop they can take. So, but some of the new alloys metals would be really, really
I've
cool.
been looking it up, and there's a mimetic polyalloy that they used for the T1000 that lets it take on different shapes. But not ballistic weapons, but like impaling and slashing weapons.
Liquid metal.
Yeah. So I think that would be also something that they could look into, and I think that would be worthwhile for us to have something that's lighter, stronger, and I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more money if that was the case either.
And then our MacBooks would turn into Terminators and try to kill us.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not as cool about that idea, really.
Get
now that I'm
down!
thinking about it.
So with before we move away from the MacBook, there's an adorable little logo that we've got on it now, and there's always rumors about Apple getting rid of logos.
Lori.
My hope for Georgia, and this is not a rumor, this is just my hope for Georgia, is that little logo will glow so that we can pick colors. Now that would be a great additional customizable feature that Apple could include right in the settings section. You could, pick your color, like the way you pick the highlight colors for your user interface. You could pick red, yellow, green, or blue for your Apple color that, you don't see it because you're not looking at the backside of it, but other people would see it when you're sitting around. So yeah.
I'll mention my shallowness that Renee has mentioned many times. I'd be in, that's it. That's why I would have to buy it. It's so horrible. It's really, I judge myself for this, but if they went back to a glowing logo, and if it could, I could have they definitely could. The lights are so small and take so little power now, little LEDs, and I could even customize it or choose to change it or make it the rainbow that kind of rotates. I would buy this. It
would be like Disneyland on your computer.
I would buy it. I would buy it immediately. I would bring it everywhere with me. I would be advertising constantly. I would spend more time, figuring out what color would it be if a new text comes in, what color would it, I would all in. I don't think that it's going to happen, but that would have me buying a new one, even though I really don't need one, but I would have to have one.
Yeah, it would be great.
I'm sorry, everyone can judge me.
So, Renee, will the MacBook ever get a touch screen?
So again, the only reason why, this is a two-pronged answer. The MacBook as we know it today probably will never get a touchscreen because Apple would have to go back and retrofit touch into OS 10, into Mac OS. And when Microsoft did that, it took them 3 years. And it was horrible for 2 of those 3 years and only slightly better afterwards. And I think still, I'd have to check the latest build. If you go down too far, you get those weird, wacky, original Windows networking, things. So, and Microsoft had to do that because their touch-based operating system failed. Windows Phone never went anywhere, so they were forced to make Windows touch-friendly, where Apple has one of the most successful touch-based operating systems in the world. So what I do think, though, is in the future, when we either get ARM-based MacBooks or there's something that replaces both the iOS and Mac OS, because nothing lasts forever, that thing will just understand context. And if the screen has touch, it'll use touch. And if it doesn't, it won't. It won't be a sort of the paradigm we have today. But the last thing, as much as I think it'd be fun to have touchscreen on the Mac, the last thing I want is to have the precious few engineers that are working still on macOS, because it is nowhere near as popular or makes so much money as iOS. Most of the people are still working on iOS, and there's very little chance Apple will take iPad engineers away and say, no, don't work on future iPads. Spend the next 3 years making the MacBook touch. And I don't think they'll go, oh, yeah, forget all that Catalyst and Swift UI stuff and whatever. Just spend the next years. I don't think that'll happen. But my hope is that as macOS and everything else goes next generation, that'll just be part of the process along the way.
I mean, with Catalyst, though, I think we are these apps are poised to be potentially touch compatible, because even the way they've been brought over from iOS and iPad OS, there's even some of them that they're still kind of not in great shape, and
they have ridiculous touch controls still.
Thank you. They have ridiculous touch controls on the Mac, but then if the Mac were touchscreen compatible, then problem solved. It'd be great.
Except you go to that other app and it's got like this tiny radio button to close it, and you're like missing it half the time. And then it's like all these tiny little controls.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
So
pencil would be fun.
So Renee, you don't think that they're already thinking about or have anyone that would be working on that now?
I think they have iOS MacBooks that are touch friendly. There's clamshell iOS devices. I think that's that's gonna as many people that use the iPad. I think, and I've said this for a while in education, but also in regular life. Google makes Chromebooks for a reason. People like simple to maintain, easy to use laptops, and there's no reason why. Well,
there is.
I mean, I would love to see, in addition to what they're already doing, an iOS clamshell form factor, like basically an iPad with a built-in keyboard.
But that would have to be for this idea of it being something, for education, for example. If you were going to compare it to the Chromebook, it'd have to be very inexpensive. And we're looking at our touch screens, on our phones and our iPads are pretty expensive right now. So to be able to keep it at a reasonable price, it seems like it would have to be pretty simple, like iPad mini style.
Or just like the current $329 iPad, bump that up to $499 and include a keyboard.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. So
people will complain, but I want Mac OS on touch. I'm like, I want everything too. I want $1 million.
Yeah, I'm of the different way, because I'm the person that after I've been using my iPad for a while or my phone, I will reach for the screen. It just seems like the cursor is a times old. Like, how old is the cursor? Like, I'm sorry, it hasn't really changed. It's not really that useful. I'm right next to the screen anyways. I should be able to reach out and touch it and be able to choose the way that I interact with my screen. I think that for accessibility, that's also helpful.
Interestingly, the cursor is actually coming to mobile now more than ever. Like with iOS and iPad OS, you have Touch Assistant or Assistive Touch, which allows you to plug in your mouse and use it as a cursor. It's not like the way it is on a computer, but so you're arguing let's get away from
touchpad. I'm saying we should have both. I think that you should be able to choose how to use your computer, because if you can use your computer in different ways, that's helpful to people. So totally you don't have to kill the cursor. No one send me angry emails of death to the cursor. I'm not saying death to the cursor.
Please send her death to the cursor.
Okay, a little. But no, I think that it would be nice if we could choose to interact with our technology in the way that is easiest or best suited, or the ways in which we can.
To your point too, like your kids are going to grow up and your kids are just going to think it's broken because they grew up with iPads. And if you can't touch the screen just feels broken. It's a terrible user experience. If you're something on a screen, you should be able to touch it. It's just that is true, but it's also true that I don't think Apple has the capacity to go back and make Mac OS touch. And if they did have that capacity, I think those resources would be better spent on making something new to quasi replace Mac OS as like. Retrofitting touch is always sort of inelegant. Make something new that's touch equal, that is born to be touch and cursor and mouth and mouse and all of these things. Like make whatever is next. And I think that if you're going to spend that money, don't spend it making the old thing okay. Spend it making the new thing amazing.
I'm okay with touch equality.
Touch equality, yes. So before we move on to our next subject, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our sponsor this week, Thrifter. Thrifter is a new way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. You can sign up at thrifter.com to get thoughtfully selected tech deals from places like Amazon and Best Buy, all without this fluff and stuff. So let's hop on over to thrifter.com right now, Renee and Georgia, and pick one or two of our favorite deals this week. I've picked mine right away.
Really?
Yeah. So you can get, I'm just starting since I just picked one, Nintendo Switch bundle with your choice of game accessory. So for $329, you can get a Nintendo Switch. It's at $329. It's cheaper than what it would be brand new. But you can also choose your Joy-Con controller, and you can choose an accessory to go with it. I'm clicking over to the Walmart ad for it to find what's oh, here we go. So it's your choice of bonus accessory which is going to be either, oh, there's so much. So it actually includes 3 items. So it's the Nintendo Switch. You can choose from 5 different games, which I can't figure out how to click through which those games are. And you can choose 2 accessories to go with it, which again, I can't click through to see what those are. So I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Build your bundle. So let's see. If I wanted to select my choice of Nintendo Switch games, it would be, of course, it's not letting me do it. Darn, that's too bad because these are great. This is great. So unfortunately, the I'm just clicking wrong. Found it. You can choose. The games are Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is absolutely the best game they've ever made for Nintendo Switch, or Super Mario Party. And when you choose one of your favorite games to go along with it, then you can choose your accessory, a Nintendo Switch Type-C to HDMI plus USB plus card reader. So it's a little hub that you can connect to your Nintendo Switch for adding all of the little extra things. Or you can choose a Power Ace Stealth case. And this is all for less than the price of a Nintendo Switch as it is at only $329. So that's a great bargain. If you're in the mood or in shopping for Nintendo Switch for maybe the holiday season coming up, there's a great deal for you there. Renee, do you see anything out there that looks great?
Oh, my problem is not that I see something, as I see so many things. I mean, like the Lego Marvel Spider-Man Far From Home battle, saved 21% on that. They also have the Lego Movie 2 Rex's Rex Explorer kit, 51% off. And if Lego's not your thing, there's like, I could get Georgia the Game of Thrones 5-book paperback box set to get rid of some of that salty season 8 taste in her mouth for like 44% off. There's just so much I want to get here.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Georgia, do you have a favorite that you see on there?
Yeah, I have 2 actually. They have the Amazon Basics Canvas laptop backpack for $8. These are light as air, really easy to fold, good for if you're traveling and you can pack them inside your suitcase as well as, and you can carry them around and it takes absolutely no space. They also have the Alki Power Hub. So I've been looking at hubs just because I like USB ports. I want to be able to have power, surge protection, and power strips on it. And it has all of these. And so we have so many pieces of technology in our house. We're always trying to charge. I hate the idea of me unplugging something, plugging something in. If I want to move around, you can put this anywhere. It's a really good price.
So yeah, between the 3 of us, we've come up with a bunch of different deals that are happening on that you can find on Thrifter. And the point of the differences is that it's not just tech, it's everything. And these deals aren't just, whatever the Amazon deal of the day is. Sometimes you find discounts because Thrifter found a secret code that you can use that will get you a discount or something like that. So head on over to thrifter.com to sign up with their newsletter and get thoughtfully selected products daily sent to your email, or just visit the website, check out the homepage every day. There's something new. The deals do go fast, so check often if you want to, find Christmas presents this year. Thrifter is the perfect place to shop. So thanks to Thrifter for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. And to get back on track with what we've been talking about, there's rumors of other things coming out. So let's quickly talk about the iPad Pro. We've been talking about it a lot. So there's nothing new from where we're at now, but the new iPad Pro, Renee, what could we expect possibly before the end of 2019?
So I don't know if we'll actually get those before the end of the year. Maybe those will be more of a March event thing, because Apple has tended to not do new iPad Pros yearly. They've done them almost like every 18 months instead. So that would land them right about March. But the rumor is they're going to be very similar to the current iPad Pro, but have something much closer akin to the iPhone 11 or iPhone 11 Pro camera system. And I know a lot of people make fun of taking photos with iPads, but I love them. Like when you do like videography, having a huge viewfinder is amazing. We shot CES like that. When you want to zoom in close to like a product and make sure you're framing it perfectly, that big viewfinder is great. And we've seen people with huge rigs shooting, on iPads, and it'd just be great if they had a first-class camera experience.
Georgia, would you record video or take photos with your iPad Pro if it had 3 camera system?
I'll use whatever is closest to me. So I think that it's a nice thing to have. I think that more people are filming videos, taking pictures of things with whichever computer they're wanting to use. So I think that it would be a benefit. I think it's time.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for me, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't use it myself, but not because I think it looks ridiculous, because I think we've kind of gotten over that idea. I see dozens of people. You go anywhere where there's tourists, and half the people are taking pictures with their phones and half the people are taking pictures with their iPad. So clearly it's something people love to do and love to use. And Renee, I think, speaking to the videographers and photographers out there, that big viewfinder to be able to set up your shot and actually get good video from your iPad without having to switch over to a different camera is definitely excellent. Would you buy the 3 camera system iPad Pro? Is that enough for you to make that purchase?
No, so I don't think I don't think real people almost ever buy year after year. I mean, like there are people who spend $25,000 on a plane ticket, live in 5-star hotels, and never wear the same clothes twice, never including them in this. But I don't think most people ever upgrade year after year. In fact, I think when tech pundits say, is it enough to upgrade year over year, they made that up just so that they can say no. And so for me, I have the iPhone 11, so I'm fine for shooting video. But if I was like an actual professional who needed it for a shoot, it would pay for itself in like 3 minutes of shooting time. So it wouldn't even be a question. It'd just be like factored into the budget for this. Hey, we're making a Selena Gomez video. It's a $10 million budget. Got to buy a couple $600 iPads. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's never a question for the people that it actually matters to, because they keep their stuff for like 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
And if they're upgrading every year, then it's totally different reasons.
You're right. Yeah. Georgia, so then I'll rephrase this one for you. Is it enough to buy at all? Even if you've, let's say your iPad's getting old and you're already considering a new one, would you hold off for the triple lens iPad Pro? Is the camera lens something that makes it worth, holding out and buying?
It wouldn't for me, but I think that for like schools, for systems where they need to have everything in one place, it's a big deal because they're doing more things with media. They need to take shots of things and they want to get the most value for their money. And often schools can't afford a camera system to be able to take shots of what's happening in the school, for kids to be able to know what's. So I think that for like schools, for medical professionals, for other things, having everything in one place is a huge benefit. If you're taking photos of medical notes, of pictures that you need to send to other medical, to have a very clear, crisp photo can be a deal breaker. And so I think that for a lot of other people, this could be a big deal if they upgrade it. And I think that, for me, I have my phone, so I wouldn't really need a better camera system. Though if I was doing FaceTime videos, it's so much better to do that on an iPad. And I think that a lot of people are now using their iPad, especially if you're visually impaired, especially if you have visual problems or mobility problems, it's easier to use an iPad than it is to use a phone. And you want to be able to see your family members and actually be able to see them, to read the pictures that they're showing you with the little words on it saying, I love grandma, I love grandpa, how are you doing? That's really cool. And so I think that iPads are great for that. Mm-hmm. And having clear pictures would make a difference. So I think, though I'm not the use case, I think that for a lot of people they are. And like for my mom, I got her an iPad. I didn't get her a phone because I wanted her to be able to see it, use it, not have to worry, be able to, surf the net, read things without having to scroll or do anything. And it was all there. And if I needed to reach her, she could see me. She could see that it was ringing because it was big and it was bright.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I think I agree with both of you, which is that a triple lens iPad Pro is not it's not necessarily the upgrade that everyone needs. If you are in the market to upgrade, and a triple lens iPad Pro is coming, no reason not to hold off a little bit longer unless you absolutely can't wait for it, because it'll be the next big thing. So of course, if you can wait, go ahead and wait. It's got use cases that are that make it absolutely worth purchasing for certain types of people, certain industries that they can get bunches of them and, have them set up all over the place. Definitely. So I agree with you guys on that all around. What about these Apple tags that we didn't get at the iPhone event, but they were very strongly rumored, and we've seen evidence of them potentially, there, and then they weren't there for us. So do you think we're going to see them before the end of 2019, Renee, or do you think that this might also be postponed for the possible later event where an Apple or where an iPad might be?
I mean, I want them like last month when I lost my wallet. Want them, but I think Apple learned from AirPower, and maybe they should have learned from HomePod and original AirPods, that just don't pre-announce stuff if you're not absolutely sure it's going to ship. Like, if there are any problems whatsoever, if you're not already using it to test it, just don't announce it. So I think if they're ready to go, I think they'd be a hell of a holiday product. Depending on the price, they would be great for everyone who owns an iPhone, which is a hell of a lot of people. So if Apple can get them out before the holidays, that would be the absolute best time to do it. But we saw with like the HomePod last time, they couldn't. That ended up getting delayed until after the holidays, until February. So I think for sure they want it out before the holidays, but if it's not ready, then we're only going to see it with the potentially rumored new iPhone SE, which presumably also has a U1 chip coming out in March.
Do you think, Renee, when they hear about the fervor of people being so excited about this, that, us talking about it more will help us get this sooner, or am I just spinning my wheels?
I don't want it sooner if it's not ready. Like, I just want it, because you would be careful what you wish for. I would love to have it last month, but if it doesn't work, that's like the last thing any of us need.
It can't be any worse than the other tags that are out there. Is that horrible? Sorry, didn't say that. Don't hate on me.
Yeah, so if you it could be worse, because what if you did put that Apple tag on your dog and your dog got out and then you couldn't find your dog because the Apple tag just didn't work? That would be worse. So we've got a couple more rumored things that are coming. One of the big ones, which that potentially is coming out within the next week or so, and that's the AirPods Pro. Renee, tell us a little bit about what that means. What's the difference between AirPods Pro and AirPods?
So Apple earlier this year replaced the original AirPods with AirPods 2, and that is basically just a better version of the same product. What I think this is a better product, sort of like you have a MacBook and a MacBook Pro, an iPhone and an iPhone Pro. They'll still be they'll still be AirPods, but they'll just be a better version of them on top that have things like noise cancellation. They'll be more expensive, but they'll have features that the normal AirPods don't have.
How much do you think it'll go for? I think the $249. So it'd be about $50 more for the noise canceling and possible weatherproof and things like that.
Yeah, I think Georgia's leaving us.
Yeah, yes. Sorry guys, I have to go.
Thank you, Georgia. So we went a little bit over our time, but we had so many great things to talk about.
No worries, keep on going.
Okay, goodbye, Georgia. We'll see you next week, and happy Halloween.
I'll have more skin then. Bye.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, I think that's about right. You'll get. I'm hoping that it'll be like the in-ear earbuds that they used to sell, and you'll be able to change the size like you can on the Powerbeats Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I know that might regulate it for you, Lauren. I'm not 100% sure it will, because they still have the same basic AirPods design. But if you could customize your fit, you get noise canceling. And the whatever else, maybe they're hopefully rain-proof, sweat-proof, that sort of thing. I think that would be a good package.
I think the sweat-proof or sweat-resistant, water-resistant, I think that's a big one. Listening, I've been testing out the Beats Solo Pro, which have active noise canceling, and I've also been testing it against all the other headphones that I have. Yes. And what I've come to determine right now, that I think that active noise canceling is a little bit overplayed. It's a little bit, they oversell what it offers. And I'm getting a little off track, but it does have to do with the idea that the AirPods Pro might have some kind of noise canceling. And here's what I mean. The active noise canceling in the Beats Solo Pro is not that much better than the passive noise canceling of the Beats Solo 3, which, by the way, I will have a review of this on iMore.com as soon as possible. I'm hoping to have it finished today, but keep an eye out for it. So, Renee, do you think noise canceling is really like something Apple should be trying for? Or is this really just, it's a feature that isn't that necessary? It's not that much better. And what's the big deal?
So I think it's this. Like I'm not a huge fan of noise canceling, but there are people who really, really want it, and there are use cases like being on a plane or being on a train, especially for people who are apprehensive about those modes of travel, where when they put those on, it sort of shuts out the world and they can relax more. Or if some people study best in a loud room, and some people study best in a very quiet room. So if you're at Starbucks and you just want to work and you could put these on, that's great. And I think they are a higher end feature. So if it's a premium feature that people are willing to pay for, I think Apple should provide it. Like I can spend Apple's money all day. I can tell them to make all sorts of things. That's not the problem. But I think it does have enough interest in the market. And I think I don't like the over the ear design at all. Like that's not my favorite. I like the big cans or the AirPods. And I probably wouldn't use it a lot, but I probably would use it on planes or like in some coffee shops. So I'd appreciate having it as a feature.
Yeah, so that you did kind of hint at something, which is the battery drain that goes along with active noise canceling. So in these tiny little headphones, even if they have just a little bit of noise canceling other than just simple passive noise canceling, we're talking about a level of battery drain that seems pretty significant for the fact that AirPods really don't have that great of a battery life compared to cans.
Yeah.
So how do you think
the old Bose, like the wired ones, they would be noise canceling, and when the battery ran out, they would just be normal. But with AirPods, there's no wire, so when the battery runs out, they don't go back to normal; they just turn off.
Yeah, they go to nothing. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. I'd like to see how this works out with a pair of Pro AirPods that have any kind of noise canceling. Other than, just the simple passive noise canceling, which really is just the nature of headphones that seal into your ear. If they actually have some kind of active or, transparency or something like that, how are they going to meet our battery standards that we've come to expect already? It'll be interesting.
I wonder if they'll have a passive element by default. You can turn on active, and then it'll use some sort of machine learning algorithm to try to give you as much canceling as you need with as little power as possible.
Yes.
And then it adjusts that smartly. And obviously turning it on will use more battery than not turning it on, because that's how things work. Right. But maybe they can be smarter. They can work smarter, not harder, and get you as much battery life as you can.
That would be very special and very innovative. And I like this idea.
Lori, so they can't do that now.
All right, so
we should say that you and I reviewed the Beats Solo on video. Like the written one is not up yet, but we did it on video, and people really liked you, Lori Gill.
Oh, well, people really liked you too, so it's perfect. Yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, on Renee's Vector channel on YouTube, that's youtube.com/vector, not Yep. So youtube.com/vector. You can find that joint video review of the Beats Solo Pro, where we both talk about.
You are so good at describing. Like I've legitimately never heard anyone describe the experience of listening to music and how different headsets do it as well as you do. I felt like I was there listening with you.
Oh, that's great. That makes me happy. I really do listen to music a lot. So, I do understand, like I've been in the music biz for a while. So I do I understand like different frequencies and things like that, what they mean. So yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge to help back up my ideas. So thank you. So that's it for the show this week. Actually, before we go, let's just take a quick minute. Renee, do you have any favorite Halloween tech that you want us to leave this park with? Do you, since it's before Halloween right now, so people can go out and buy their favorite thing if they happen to, if you say something that we're excited about.
I mean, it's close to midnight and something evil's lurking in the dark under the moonlight. See, no, so like what I'm going to say is like so stereotypical, but and everybody should know it, but still like the Hue lights are so great because you can just say, make the entryway orange or make them flash. And the same thing with Nanoleaf or whatever smart lights. But if you have some HomeKit stuff, you can basically make an actually like an electronically haunted house. Like the lights will change, doors will open and close, blinds will go up and down. Depending on what you have, you can just generate these experiences, and the kids will knock on the door and the door will flash like all those things. All you need is the tech to make them real. So I would say HomeKit is my best tip for.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you, and just some Hue bulbs on my front porch right now. I have just some colored lights. They're purple and orange that are, wrapped around my porch. And my porch light is a Hue light. And I use a HomeKit plug to automate when those lights turn on and turn off. So I don't even have to go out on my front porch or flip a switch or anything. They just turn on at 7 o'clock every night and they turn off at 10 o'clock every night. So that they're just there and running. And so like automating things that just are every day really does make a huge difference. And they're a lot of fun and they don't cost any extra money. And some of them, especially with bulbs, you don't even have to take them out after the holidays are over. They just stay up all year long and you just use regular white instead of changing the colors. But for me, my one little fun thing that I love to put up every year, I discovered it last year, Atmos Effects. They make a projector that projects images onto either a wall or a window with a like a white backdrop. And so what I use is I have a white, like a thin white sheet that I put on my window, and I shoot the projector through that. So from the outside, it looks like there's these ghosts floating around in my house. It's so much fun. And people walk by and they stop and look at my window because, oh, what's that? That's really interesting. So it's atmoseffects.com. And actually you can find them on Amazon, but everything that you could possibly want, you can find there. And the great thing about these projectors, they have different downloadable content that you can use. So you don't have to just use Halloween. You can put something up for Christmas with Santa Claus, or you could put an Easter bunny up for Easter or something like that. So it can last all year long. So that's my favorite little tech Halloween decoration that I love to have every year. So everybody have a great week and a happy weekend. Thanks again to all of our listeners. And for those of you that popped in today to watch us live on YouTube, thanks again for showing up. You can find us every week on our YouTube channel, iMore, youtube.com/iMore. I'm not actually sure what that is, if that's correct. Thank you. Okay.
iMore Show. Yep.
You can find us every week on Fridays at youtube.com/iMore Show. We try to have it up, try to record every week at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes we're a little late, but we try to get on the ball with that. We also tweet it out every week, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks to all of our listeners. And of course, thanks to Jim Metzendorf for all the things that you do for us. And happy Halloween. I hope that your wife doesn't chase you down the street and eat you because she's a T-Rex now.
Can I just also quickly thank Rob T07, Harry Solomon, S. Clark, Gordon Van Hulten, everybody. I'm going to scroll back too far, but Chris Cyblack, Oliver House, just everybody who joined us, Annie Milron, everybody who joined us this week. You guys are all fabulous.
Thank you so much. We do love having you in the show and being here with us. We feel like we're actually chatting with you. And as much as we sometimes skip the things that you say, we do notice them, and sometimes we'll try to drop in little comments from you. So thanks, and keep them coming. Come visit us every week and comment with us while we're doing this. It really is great. And that's the end of our show. Thanks very much. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Thriller.